Hey Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me again.
Good to have you. We are talking about something that we unfortunately see pretty commonly in real estate. Something becomes the hot new thing. A lot of people rush in to do it. We have oversupply, and then there's kind of a pullback, especially around some of the projects that weren't so well thought out. In this case, we're seeing life science buildings converting to regular office. A lot of supply came in around COVID, around I guess everybody thinking that there was going to be a huge number of new life science guys researching vaccines and viruses and all that, and it just quite hasn't panned out as much as some people were expecting. Some of your thoughts as we're seeing some of these brand spanking new buildings being converted back into or being converted into regular office.
Well, I mean, there's a couple sides to this, but I think in a large way, when these started becoming hot ticket items, to be fair, I didn't really quite understand it, didn't really quite understand what they were going to be used for. I mean, I understood the idea, but, the reality is how many hundred or 200,000 square foot campuses, or, for that matter, 500 to a million square foot campuses of life science could you possibly have on the market before you see a dip in price, right? So I guess to me, it's not really surprising that it's being converted. I guess the reality for me is that it's surprising that it's being converted to office, not because office is a bad asset class because we own office, but I thought office was the redheaded stepchild, for the last couple of years, according to the media. So I don't know. I guess it's surprising to me that it's being there, but maybe that's the only suitable asset class that it could be converted to.
Yeah, well, they're brand spanking, super nice buildings. I
Yeah,
mean, but so I think they'll be able to lease them up. They're just, potentially looking at 30% drops in terms of what they expected the revenue to be. So they're definitely taking a pretty major hit on some of these projects that just weren't thought out, that were
yeah,
built for ghosts. I mean, it does kind of scratch my head, but because it's not like you can just flip a switch and all of a sudden, even if you had the funding, you've got more more seasoned scientists and stuff to do this. And just to give some background on these buildings, they're not cheap. I mean, you're looking at
no,
climate controlled laboratories. You're looking at special systems to make sure there's limited vibrations. You're looking at, very expensive ventilation, sometimes cooling systems,
yeah. I
fire
mean,
safety, power
I
systems.
mean, you could almost say that it's essentially a large scale surgical room, right? Like you've got medical quality or medical grade HVAC ventilation systems that have to be there so that you don't, you don't ruin your product, right? So none of it's cheap, and I just don't. I never quite understood who's going to buy it. Maybe it just sparks universities, to start buying stuff so they've got more lab space or more R&D they can do. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they're just gonna have to take the hit and try to get regular office tenants because a lot of these projects, it really was the ones that weren't so well thought out, ones that got built outside of major life science areas, apparently. So
Yeah,
I guess they were hoping, maybe throw something in an area that was adjacent, to the core of life science in Boston, and hope people would, take an extra trip. It didn't really work out. I mean, the core
yeah,
areas are still doing pretty well. I mean, it's not like, it's not a case that all of a sudden people stopped doing life science. It's just a case that there
no,
wasn't the growth that these people were betting on. But this isn't something we haven't seen many times before in real
right,
estate, right?
yeah. So, look, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think you're right. Some of those investors are going to take a hit, and the ones in the main core areas probably not as bad, or maybe not at all. But some of those secondary and tertiary markets probably are going to see some either horrible or terrible, or maybe just moderate returns that they weren't really expecting to see when they thought they were going to see great returns. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, well, thanks for the comments. Hey, put some comments below if you think we're missing something or you have some questions about this or some feedback for us. Subscribe if you haven't. Click like for us, like the video, and visit our website, selectfincap.com. Get on our free newsletter list and get on that list to get exclusive real estate investment opportunities in the commercial space. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Steve.